If we want to stop struggling and surrender to the flow of life, the first step is to face and deal with our pain. If we don't acknowledge it wherever it comes from, wherever it is stored in our body or in our subconsciousness, we can't fully embrace life and live in the present moment. But when we start and when we dare to take a deeper look within and listen to the emptiness and the discomfort we might feel and the internal void that sometimes creeps in, especially when we're not around distractions, we might realize that there was nothing broken in the first place. There was nothing to be fixed in the first place. Instead, it is about recognizing and realizing and facing our internal battles to learn from them, to grow through them, and to emerge stronger on the other side. For that reason, I'm beyond excited to have Gavin Meenan in today's podcast episode with me. Welcome to Masculinity Now with Arabella Tornau and today's guest, Gavin Meenan. Gavin is Ireland's #1 men's mentor and coach. He wrote 2 books about the art of self-acceptance, Stronger Mind, Stronger Body, Stronger Life. And he started as a licensed personal trainer and now helps hundreds of men to transform their lives physically, but also mentally. Gavin is also the host of the podcast, the Modern Warrior Podcast. And for that reason, I'm very much excited to connect today with you in person and to have you here.
An honor to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Gavin, right now into the topic. Your podcast, the name of your podcast is Modern Warrior Podcast. What brought you to this very, very powerful name?
That's an interesting question because during that whole process, I was beginning the Modern Warrior movement, and there was something within me that drew me towards that warrior essence because I feel in my own life, it was something that I didn't feel that strength of a warrior, the resilience of a warrior, even the compassion and the integrity of a warrior. And I spent a long time in my life feeling inadequate, feeling weak, feeling soft. And this was the result of a lot of bullying in my past. I was perhaps a very sensitive kid, and that obviously created a lot of scars in my life. And the whole process was really about finding the warrior in me again. And my journey began at a very young age when I was 2 or 3 years of age. Those formative years, I was living next door to my grandparents' house, and I lived with pretty much my grandparents and a couple of aunties and uncles. So I had this massive family in those first 3 years. And then we were building a home elsewhere. After 3 years, we moved away, and I felt an incredible pain from the disconnection I felt through the separation of what was to me my family. And that created a huge void in my life. And again, fast forward a little bit, I then experienced a lot of bullying in school. So I felt as if the whole world was against me. I felt as though the world was dangerous. I felt as though if anybody came into my life, they will leave me and hurt me. And I carried a lot of pain with me through those formative years and into my childhood and teen years. So I didn't feel strong, didn't feel capable. I struggled with my confidence. I had very little self-esteem. So the journey of becoming this warrior is really about my journey of finding that strength and that resilience within myself again. So it's something I've also began to identify in other men. I speak to a lot of men who have it all, success on the outside, maybe a wife, family, the home, they've got the car, they've got the money in the bank, they've got, their career, top of their game in their career, but they still feel like a child inside. They still feel vulnerable. They still feel weak. So I feel this warrior essence has been lost in society from perhaps a lot of men being indoctrinated into sort of a more feminized society where women were often in control. So, for example, you may go to school and you would have a female teacher, and that female teacher was the person who was in control of you for, most of your day. You had to sit down, be quiet, do what you're told. If you spoke up, if you expressed yourself in a way that she didn't like, you would be punished. And generally, the teacher's behaviors and actions would be backed up by your mother and probably by your father as well. They would often take the side of the teacher more so than the side of the kid, because they feel the teacher is the one in authority. And your parents also have this sort of expectation for you to become successful, to become capable, to become rich. And they feel that going through the school system is the best way to achieve that. But what I experience in my own life, and I think a lot of men experience, is the suppression of their masculinity and having to live in the line of a female's belief and a female's ideas and a female's expectations. And again, this is the loss of the warrior spirit. And again, that's something that was reflective of my own journey. I'm not standing here blaming teachers or blaming society or blaming parents. I'm just here to help people understand how these experiences in the past would have perhaps shaped you as the individual you are today. And then you can go back and you can begin to revisit those experiences and change the stories you created through those interpretations. That's your responsibility. So, this is a long answer to your short question, but I've always been drawn to that warrior spirit because I felt it was something that I lost along the way. And I think it's something a lot of men have lost along the way. And just bringing in that sort of modern aspect as well. The idea of a warrior today is not someone that really goes to war or fights battles or has to go out and hunt for food to bring it back to the family. The warrior has sort of changed over the years, I feel. And the warrior now is someone, as a man, to still have that protective and, that protective essence that he brings to the family, that he brings to his woman. But this has to be done from a place where you feel protected and secure within. And of course, that's where you need to do the work. And that's where you need to revisit those painful experiences or those traumas in the past that perhaps made you feel as though you didn't matter, made you feel as though your voice didn't matter, made you feel as though you were inadequate, made you feel as though someone else is always in control and I have no control, no power over my life. Someone else is always more superior and I feel inferior. For a lot of men, they feel inferior to a woman because, again, that's how they've been conditioned through those experiences in the past. So again, this is what drew me in. Yeah, just to reclaim that warrior essence that I think is so much needed in today's society for a lot of men out there.
Thank you so much for this amazing response, because the warrior essence is, I do agree, in regards to the battles. We don't need men anymore to fight battles outside, or depends, but fight battles outside. But the internal battles are very, very, very much alive. And in regards of, in regards of the warrior essence and the feeling of, not feeling worthy, feeling inadequate, not feeling to actually live up to a certain standard, it does create a separation within. So what would you say, which emotion was primal for you to revisit again in your journey?
I had to go back and revisit my childhood. I had to go back and really experience those painful memories of the past. And one of my earliest memories was me being left behind by my parents because of something I had done to upset my mum earlier that day. And I was left behind by my auntie who was babysitting me. But every Saturday we had this thing where I'd go to church with my family every Saturday, and it was almost like the highlight of my week, this going to church and maybe being in a community of people and being able to be there with my parents and, just feeling that connection. There was something in it that really attracted me to that. And one Saturday, the punishment was that I was not allowed to go with them. And, it's my earliest memory, and I think it's my earliest memory for a reason, because it had such an impact on me. Mm-hmm. And I remember them leaving. We were living in a mobile home at the time. As I mentioned, I was living next door to my grandparents' house in a mobile home, and they left me, and I was crying hysterically. And, probably that feeling of, I'm a bad person. I've caused my parents to leave me. They don't love me anymore. All these sort of stories that then you create through these interpretations of your life. Of course, those stories are not true. So I go back, I put myself back in that mobile home. I see myself crying. I see my parents leaving, and I kneel down to my 3-year-old self and I tell him, your parents will be back. Your parents love you. This is not your fault. This is the only way they know how to deal with your difficulty, and they're making the best decision based on the limited information they have of how to be a parent. It's not their fault. It's not your fault. And this doesn't mean you're a bad person. You're loved. You are deserving of all good things in life just as much as anyone else. And just giving that child what he needed in that moment, which he was neglected of. There was nobody there to tell me that during that experience. So I go into myself and I create these stories, and that has a ripple effect then onto the next experience and the next and the next and the next. So what happened is I didn't speak my truth. I would suppress instead of express. And when you express your feelings, when you express whatever feeling it is, express my happiness, express my sadness, express my anger, because I felt that if I expressed it, it was going to cause some hurt or some anger in someone else, like my mother, like my father, and they would leave me again. I'd be punished and I'd be abandoned. So I had to go back and revisit all those experiences and tell myself that this was not the truth of what happened, and then begin to heal that child, give the child that strength and that resilience and that love, so that then I can stand here today as the man and feel strengthened and feel resilient and feel loved and feel secure in myself. So that's been a huge process over the last decade. And also what happened through the suppression of those feelings. Obviously, there's a lot of shame as well around feelings, because if you say something and it's criticized or it's mocked by someone else, even if they're doing it in a jokingly way, because of my sensitivity as well, perhaps, I would keep a lot of things to myself. So for a long time in my life, I feel I've been living this double life where, and maybe we all have it to a certain degree, but to me, I've kept a lot of things secret. Mm-hmm. I would only express myself in situations or places where there were no people. And I wasn't going to be open to the rejection or the criticism or the shame that I would feel from other people's response. So that, of course, then transfers onto porn. Mm-hmm. And porn was something I became addicted to over a course of years. Probably started when I was 13. And then it just grew from there, into my later teens and into my 20s, and it really spiked probably in my late 20s after I lost my job, and I had a lot of unprocessed trauma from the past, and porn just became that place of safety for me where I could express myself completely. And but of course, through the suppression, whatever was suppressed will eventually express itself in destructive ways in your life. So, relationship breaks down, became so disconnected from people. Porn became something that was a lot more frequent. So I connected more frequently to porn than I connected to people or nature or myself, these healthy resources that help us heal. I hid away from that. And again, this is the double life that I lived. On the outside, successful. On the outside, seemed happy. On the outside, seemed like this confident, strong guy. Yeah. But inside, I was broken. So, that was a process of trying to repair all that by going back to the childhood and giving that child the support and love and connection that he needed, so I could feel more connected within.
I mean, that this is something that I also said 15 minutes ago. Like the way you talk about that and the way you're very expressive and very open with, you're very open with your vulnerability, and you're sharing this very, very strong, very powerful, but also in a way that a lot of men can connect to that, because it's all from our society. And again, not pointing the finger to our society or where we grew up or whatsoever, but the more we share our emotions, the more we share our pain, the more we share our trauma, something within us can shift. Because it's like, there's this one saying, like, it only takes one letter from shame to share. And when you have this like shame and share, you share it, there's something within that just realigns everything, so you can move forward. So listening to you and listening how impressive, open you share about those things, I just wanted to reflect that back to you, is very, very powerful. So I would like to know.
I can only share those things because of that very thing that I just shared with you. The fact that I've healed the shame. I don't feel any shame around sharing my past experiences and the difficulties I went through. So by healing that, I can speak my truth, and by speaking my truth, I can now help others, step beyond their wall of lies and embrace the truth of all they are and who they are. So the truth sets you free, as they say.
The truth sets you free. And it's really like that. And we are all full of programmings. We are full of, like layers of everything, of expectations, like you said, also in school, of like old programmings from teachers that were not even schooled or trained probably to be like pedagogues. I don't know the English word, but pedagogues. I don't know if it's English, but you know what I mean.
We'll take that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not even trained to be like this. They have their own battles to fight. They have their own demons to look at, and that's fine. But when we are not aware of it in a society, it goes into a direction which is great on the other hand, because now we are back into pulling this direction into balance. And by having men like you, and also supporting other men on their journey, because I was watching your testimonials of the men you're working with, and seeing how impressive you not only help them to transform their life also physically, but also like mentally. And you can see how the change occurred in their posture or how they actually express themselves. What can you share is helpful for any man who faces battles within in regards to expressing themselves, in regards to connecting with shame and connecting with childhood memories.
I always recommend that men spend a period of time every single day alone, distraction free, because only when you create peace on the outside, you can begin to cultivate peace on the, what did I say? Only when you create peace on the outside, you begin to cultivate peace on the inside. So I am a big advocate for that period of stillness, that period of solitude every single day, because when you switch off the outside noise, you can begin to really hear the inside noise, the thoughts, the feelings that are all stored within your body and your mind. And a massive advocate as well for journaling. That's something I've been doing for 6 or 7 years now, and it's a very healthy way for men to process their thoughts and their feelings. It's been super effective for every single man I've worked with, every single man that's come on the program with me. They've all started journaling, and it's been an absolute game changer for them, because they've finally began to, they've found an outlet for those thoughts where they never had an outlet before. Because a lot of men just keep, as I mentioned, keep these things to themselves, keep their thoughts to themselves, their feelings to themselves, and just carrying around this like a pressure cooker every single day. And that's a lot of stress and pressure to be holding on to on a regular basis. So this journaling is a way to release some of that, and also put some structure in your thoughts. There's things obviously we're thinking every single day that we aren't even aware of, because we're being distracted by social media, being distracted by work, being distracted by people, being distracted by women. So there's a massive amount of distractions out there at the moment, which debilitates our opportunity to really connect with ourselves. And so that's somewhere I recommend every man to start with, because it's only in the absence of those distractions you can really begin to take appropriate action to begin healing yourself. And it doesn't have to be complicated. For a lot of men I work with, I give them a simple process of sit, breathe, take a few deep breaths, and whatever comes up, however ridiculous it may seem, just write it down. Just put it all on paper, and you begin to realize that you're holding on to a lot of pain, a lot of difficulties, a lot of feelings that you weren't aware of. And with this new sense of self-awareness, you begin to really connect with the pain or the struggles that you're experiencing. And then you can take that with you and begin to maybe talk about it with a therapist, or talk about it with me, or talk about it with someone you trust. And that brings you even further again. And I think I'd always recommend speaking to someone who's gone through a similar process as you're experiencing at the moment, because they can really step into your shoes and empathize with your situation, but they've also come through that darkness, and they can now go back in there and show you the way, because they know the road. They know those pitfalls. They know where you may stumble, where you may fall, and it will save you a lot of time and hassle by finding a guide through the darkness, as opposed to falling over yourself every step you take and then becoming frustrated because you're not making progress. So that's where it began. It's you only begin to heal and work on yourself once you identify that there is something there to heal and to work on. And as I mentioned, a lot of men are out there and they're oblivious to their pains and their struggles, because, as I mentioned, they're just not paying attention to themselves. And but they still feel this level of emptiness, or this feeling of inadequacy within, but they don't know why. Well, the only way you're going to find the answers to that is just to remove the distractions and pay attention to yourself, and the answers will come. That's the great thing. Like, so many men out there and so many people out there are looking for answers in books, answers in therapy, answers in women, answers in sex, answers in pleasures, answers in alcohol. answers, and even these healthy resources, like going to the gym, like working harder, like hustle, like grind. But the answers are not there. If you just stop, all you got to do is stop, you will find the answers within. Sometimes the only way to move forward is to be still. Don't do anything. You already know what you need to know. It's there.
That is also thank you for this advice, because I know it's so beneficial to also hear it from someone who walked this path and not only talking about it. And what would you, I go back to also what you said in regards to the distraction, in regards also to porn, and also like all those like other external sources, because in the end of the day, porn is an addiction like drinking alcohol, or like, like reading also good habits, like reading all the books, but not applying anything of it. So again, it is something that, or maybe you can answer this to me. Like, what was for you the moment in regards to porn, or in regards to any other lesson, or in regards to any other experiences in your life, where you were invited to say, okay, that's enough, stop it, I can't anymore? Like, were there anything which comes right now for you into your mind or your heart?
Unfortunately, for me and a lot of men out there, the majority of men out there, we only make a change when the pain of where we are is greater than the pain of making that change. And that's a situation I found myself in several times. There's 2 or 3 times where that really hit me quite hard. 2 or 3 times, you could call it the proverbial bottom of the pit. In terms of porn, I was so oblivious to the addiction and the behaviors around porn. And what started off by watching videos or looking at magazines, or even, fantasizing about girls I've seen or whatever else, these are all, it's all under the same umbrella of porn. It transferred then into webcams. So in my early 20s, the majority of my porn use involved me and another woman on the other side of a webcam. And these women were usually, somewhere else in the world. So time differences, created some difficulties in terms of, like, this couldn't be a daytime thing. Actually, the time difference suited me, because it was a time where I could do this at night when everyone else is sleeping, and I can hide in my room and have this, secretive relationship with this woman who's a stranger. And my only objective in those exchanges was to become intimate with the woman on the other side of the camera, and she usually had the same incentive on her side. So there was a huge element of safety with that, because during those years I really struggled with intimacy with women. I would have become very anxious when someone would get so close to me, physically close to me, probably due to some of those experiences in my childhood where I was afraid of feeling a sense of shame around my body, around sex. Growing up in a Catholic society, Catholic family as well, there's imprints of shame that come around sex when it comes to Catholicism. So like a lot of these, subtle elements of shame, I think, just compounded over the years. And whenever I became close to a woman, I would become almost terrified, and I'd go completely into my head and all I'd be thinking about is, oh, I wonder, does she like this? I wonder, does she like me? I wonder, am I doing the right thing? And really it was down to, I wonder if I'm good enough. I wonder if I'm deserving of this experience. And obviously, when nothing was happening in those situations, I still had my drive, I still had my testosterone, I still had that desire. But doing it physically, doing it in reality, often caused a lot of difficulty. And you know, there's been situations where that would happen with a woman, and she would compound the shame that I felt. You know, she would make me feel as though there's something wrong with me, or that I was gay or something like this, which I'm not. So so then I began to delve more into that world of fantasy. And as I said, I'm on one side of the webcam, she's on the other side of the webcam. She's not there physically. And I felt as though I had more control over those situations. So that grew into an addiction. And that was something that happened quite frequently. Eventually then, in my later 20s, I found these webcam chat rooms where you can go on a webcam and pretty much expose it all. And there's people viewing you, there's people commenting, there's people who can actually pay you to show more or do something for them. So again, that comes with extreme levels of validation and attention and praise, and perhaps all these things that I didn't feel within. As I mentioned, self-esteem was minimal, self-confidence was zero, self-love was non-existent. So I'm getting all this now from other people. So that became that was like porn on ecstasy. It was. And I spent hours and hours in these webcam chat rooms for probably over the course of a year. And again, completely oblivious to this experience. I never stopped to question, oh, maybe this is a problem. Yeah. Maybe I just didn't want to know at the time. And maybe the pleasure that it brought was just all too consuming. Because to stop that, I would then have to sit with the pain. I would then have to experience the trauma. I would then have to go through all of the insecurities and all of the difficulties that brought me to that point in the first place. But no, it's easier to go into porn and, pursue this pleasurable experience, which again wasn't real. It's all fake. These people didn't even know me. So what happened after that? I began to make some changes in my later 20s. I started to talk to a counselor because I felt a lot of guilt for a number of months, which was the result of suppressed feelings and emotions and suppressed trauma from a car accident that I was involved in when I was 18, where I was responsible for the death of a woman. So again, something else I ran away from, into alcohol, into porn, only for it to creep back into my life with vengeance when I was 27 years of age. It was probably 10 years after it happened, 27, 28. So I began to speak to a counselor and I started to make some changes in my life. But again, the past has a way of creeping up and kicking you in the ass. So I got a call one day from a friend of mine. I was at the gym and a friend who never calls me out of the blue and tells me, Gavin, there is a video of you circulating on a porn site. Looks like you're in a webcam, or it looks like you're in a chat room, or you're in a webcam. And I knew exactly what he was talking about. So footage of me in that webcam was then posted on a porn site, which was then being circulated around my town, or where I live. So people were seeing this. And again, this is a time where I started to do some healing. And my business was going really strong. I was personal training at the time, some online coaching. Things were going pretty well. But as I said, the past has a way of creeping up and kicking you in the ass. So that absolutely crushed me when that happened. And I thought I was going to lose everything, lose the business, break down the relationship. But what that actually did was it allowed me to embrace the truth of all I am and all I've done. So after a couple of days, I made a decision to I came to the conclusion that I can either be used by this experience or I can use this experience. And I decided to use that experience to then help other men, because I knew deep down that so many other men are struggling with something similar in their life, addicted to porn or addicted to alcohol, or just feeling lost or feeling empty, or trying to find, again, as I mentioned, trying to find answers in all the wrong places. So I said, look, I'm going through this experience. I'm pretty sure there's other men out there who are also struggling with this. So I'm going to pivot my business, pivot my message towards helping men with their underlying struggles now. At the time, it was all physical. So that began the journey towards going deeper into the emotional wounds that they were carrying and helping them overcome that. And yeah, that was the moment where I began to really change my life and begin to change the life of others. So I think 18 months after that, I had written the first book, Stronger Mind, Stronger Body, Stronger Life, and it became a bestseller on Amazon. And ever since then, it's just been building from that point forward. And as I continue to heal and grow and progress, I then can help other men go even further with their healing processes. So, even helping them during those years when I was going through the difficulties of that experience, it really helped me as well. So, yeah, that was the moment where I really started to turn things around.
Well, Gavin, thank you so much for sharing this also today here, especially also in regards to the accident and also in regards to the emotions of guilt. Because I believe it was not an easy ride, an easy journey to be here right now as this man that you are, on top also on your childhood experiences, also on the bullying and also on the porn, basically the shame that you needed to also feel and also let go out of your system. So how did you dealt with this guilt that came with this accident? How was it even possible for you to say, yes, I do want to face it. I do want to face my internal battles and my struggles. How did you do that?
Good question. I found myself for a period of time before I reached out for help, finding myself reading these self-development books. I think Ryan Holiday's The Obstacle's the Way is the first self-help book. I hate that term, self-help, but that was the first self-help book that I had read. And at the time, I couldn't understand why I was so drawn to these type of books and why the words of the books related to me so much. And I remember asking myself that very question. I was sitting in a coffee shop one day and I was reading one of these books. And I just asked myself, why am I so drawn to these books now? Because, I've never read a self-help book in my life. I was 27 at the time. I've never, had much interest in this. Why am I now being drawn into this? So then this began to change my perspective in terms of how I see myself, how I see the world, how I see challenges. Again, a great book because the obstacle is the way. And I was facing this incredible obstacle of the trauma of the past. And the chapters of that book really helped me to begin moving forward, or certainly helped me begin to embrace the challenges. But of course, books are not going to change your life. It's the action you take from the words you read or from the information you receive that changes your life. This is a massive issue, I think, in the personal development world, where you think that reading a book or even going to therapy or talking about your problems is going to heal you, but all that is really is mental masturbation. You know, it feels good for a moment, but nothing changes because you haven't applied any of the learnings or any of the lessons or any of the new insights you've gained. And I did that for a period of time, for sure. I'd read a book and I'd feel, oh wow, I'm so much better now.
No, we all do that.
You know,
we all do that.
Yeah, I think we all fall into that pit hole.
Yeah.
And then we realize, oh, actually nothing's changed. Why has nothing changed? Oh, because I haven't made any changes. I haven't actually taken any action. Mm-hmm. So shortly after that, the guilt that I felt around this accident just really began to grip me so tight. It impacted every minute of my life for a period of months, and I just came to the point where I admitted defeat to the guilt, and I said, I can't do this anymore. I can't continue with this feeling anymore. It's just too much. And I just sat in my car one day, went through Google, found a number for a counsellor, and started a process of about 12 months of counselling every single week. And Beautiful. It was all focused around the car accident. Mm-hmm. A great lady, you know, I still hold her in high regard, helped me out a lot. And I don't remember much of the sessions, but I remember one of the most important questions she asked me was probably towards the end of our sessions together, and I was sitting there in the room, and we're coming towards the end of the session, I think, and she got to the point of forgiveness, because ultimately this was why I was here, to forgive myself for what happened, and I couldn't. I hated myself, what I had done. I carried this incredible amount of anger and resentment towards myself over what happened. Mm. And that was something that lingered for a long, long time, even after I finished with her. But she did ask me at the time, you know, if she, you know, the lady that died, if she could, you know, be here today and see you and speak to you, do you think that would forgive you for what happened? And that question absolutely floored me. And I really had to think about it. I probably took several moments before I could reply. And I knew this lady. We had a good relationship together. I used to work with her in the shop, and we always got on really well. I could see her there when I was thinking about this question. I could see her there, and I could see her smiling and laughing and, you know, cracking her jokes whenever we used to work together. And I realized, you know, she would know in her heart that I didn't go out there to intentionally cause any hurt or pain, or certainly not to cause her death. And because she knows this, I do believe that, you know, she would forgive me. So I said, yeah, I think she would forgive me. Now, at the time, that's what I said. But on reflection, I didn't fully believe that, because that was back in, that's 10 years ago, probably since then, since she asked me that question. I think it's only been this year. This year is the only time I've been able to get to the point where I can forgive myself for what happened. It's taken me 21 years to get there, with constant work, with constant processing of pain, with constant revisiting, with constant therapy, with constant even, you know, going as far as having a couple of psychedelic retreats as well, just to you know, go even deeper into these experiences. So it's only this year I've been able to get to that point. And what I've realized is forgiving myself is not really an option. It's an absolute necessity, because if I don't forgive myself, then what am I left with? Self-hate, resentment, bitterness, a lot of anger. And if I'm still holding on to all these negative emotions and feelings about myself, then that's going to have an effect on everyone else in my life. That's going to have an effect on the men that I'm trying to help. That's going to have an effect on my family. That's going to have an effect on my children. It's going to have an effect on everybody that comes into my life. So I can't hold on to this, because it's actually not just causing more hurt and pain within me, but it's causing damage and hurt and pain in the people in my life as well. Because I'm not showing up as, you know, this loving, caring, compassionate father, leader, partner to the people in my life. You know, I'm showing up as a man who carries a lot of pain and hurt and resentment. And as I said, forgiving yourself, I think, is a necessity. It's not an option. You have to get to the point where you forgive yourself, because it's not only affecting you, but it's affecting others too. So yeah, that's been a long process, but I feel I have eventually crossed that bridge.
Wow, Gavin, like I said, that this is such well put into words. Thank you so much for, you know, showing us your process, like to help us to bring us back into this moment where you faced your inner demons and internal battles. Because if, like, a trauma is, and especially also when you were experiencing this traumatic event, you needed to work also with PTSD. You also needed to work with like so much ripple effects that it had on you and in your life. And also in regards to the people that, I mean, how was the response from the people? Did you experience, you know, like support or love or shelter during those times?
Yeah, that's something that will always stick with me, and I think it's something that has an incredible influence over what I do today. It's I spoke about it on a video not so long ago about the love and support that I felt from people whenever that accident happened. Nobody, at least to my face, nobody blamed me for what happened. Nobody embedded guilt or shame in what I've done. I remember, even I come from a small town, and this happened just outside my small town, so everybody knows everybody, and I knew her family. My family knows their family, so everyone's like, it's a close-knit, tight community. But ever since it happened, they were incredibly supportive, and that's I can't put into words the gratitude I feel around that. Like, even, you know, a couple of days after the accident happened, I wanted, as painful and as difficult as it would be, I wanted to go to the house where she was being waked and, you know, see her. And she was in her brother's house, and yeah, I'll always remember this. It's in her brother's house, and I went there very early in the morning before anyone else arrived. It was kind of the private time for the family. So in her house, in this house, she lay there in the coffin, and the only people in the house at the time were her brothers and sisters. So her brother came out, greeted us at the car, brought us inside, and I walked into the house, and standing at the kitchen door was a couple of her brothers. I remember looking one of the brothers in the eye, and he couldn't look at me. He turned away, and that's something that really had an effect on me. Is although he didn't say anything, I could see that he was angry. He was, I don't know, I can't tell you what he was feeling, but he was feeling something so strong that he struggled to look me in the eye. He turned away and he walked into the kitchen. Everyone else sort of stayed there. Nobody, I can't recall if anybody came towards me, or touched me, or or consoled me. My mum and dad were with me, and I went into the room and I seen her there, and I can't describe the feelings that I felt in that moment. There's no words I can put in it. It's just my whole body just felt numb. I can't put any words in it. Seeing her there, and again, this is a time where I completely fucking blame myself for what happened, and I stood there looking at her, and I felt such an amount of anger and such an amount of shame around what I had just done to cause this to happen. I felt so sorry for her and her family. And later that day, went to the funeral, and I was walking towards the church, and I just started crying, and I cried for almost the entire service. And the thoughts in my head were, everyone's here. Like, the place was full. It's like, everyone's here because of what I've done. You piece of shit. You fucking so whatever hate and whatever shame I felt, it was something I've probably always felt within, but the car accident really amplified what I already believed about myself. Because, as I said, nobody turned around, and despite with the exception of her brother perhaps, who turned away that time, nobody ever turned around and expressed their anger or resentment for what happened. Like, her nephews would meet me out on a weekend, and one of her nephews would come up to me on quite a regular basis and talk to me and tell me, look, man, it was an accident. We don't hold anything against you. Me and my brothers could have taken my dad's car, and something similar could have happened. It was an accident. We see this as an accident. We know you're not a bad person. But at the time, that just went over my head. What I wanted to hear from him was, yeah, you're a piece of shit. Mm-hmm. We're fucking so angry with what you've done. We fucking hate you. Because if he said that, it would have confirmed what I had already believed about myself, and that would bring some sort of level of satisfaction to my inner belief. Yeah. So it took me a long time, as I said, to get beyond that feeling of resentment and hate that I felt towards myself in that moment, or in that experience. So they were incredibly supportive. Even on the day of the court, I was charged with dangerous driving causing death. So I was in court maybe 18 months later, and 3 of her sisters came to court that day. I wasn't expecting it, and one of her sisters went up in the stand and told the judge that the family didn't want me to go to jail. Oh. I didn't acknowledge it at the time. I didn't realize the impact of that at the time, but like, that level of forgiveness, and just to do something like that for someone else, to go out of your way. Like, they didn't have to be there that day. I'm pretty sure they didn't have to be there that day. Mm-hmm. But they made the effort to go out there with the sole intention of saving me from going to jail. And again, like, all of those experiences from the people around me after that car accident is a huge reason for why I do what I do today.
There's this one sentence which says, like, your trauma can either set you up for failure, or it can either set you up for success. And it's only your choice which way you're taking it. But facing those battles, facing especially emotions like guilt, or tragic accidents, like tragic experiences that you needed to go through, and coming out on the other side stronger and wiser and more aligned with who you are, and being confident, having a conversation, like sharing those type of experience now with me, but also with so many others, like supporting others, helping others on their path, is tremendously, like, you're very great in service. And either or you believe in, I don't know that you believe in the universe, but either or you believe in God or whatsoever. What you do and who you are and who you always were is such a gift for all of humanity. And I just feel I really want to bring this home to you.
Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
How does it, because especially because self-hate, and like the separation from feeling those feelings that are teachings, emotions, of like emotions that are here for a message that help us to grow and help us to transform and help us to actually like understand who we are. And this happens when I'm in my heart. I forget what I wanted to say right now, but I think I'm just wanting to reflect back on that, and also bringing out to the previous topic that we spoke upon, the warrior, and also your Modern Warrior podcast, and also your Modern Warrior program, and also the warrior essence within. You are a true warrior, and true warriors also in the back of the times, they needed to fight, and they needed to fight in battles, like we said in the beginning. But fighting our internal battles, and fighting especially like having the courage to face our demons in a tremendously way like that, this is so freaking necessary in this society. And where I'm truly supportive, and I'm truly like impressed what you do also for men. But what can you say in like reflecting or like looking at our current society, and also like how it turns out in regards to masculinity and also the service that we need? I mean, we see not our internal battles, but we also see the external battles, like our structure is coming to an end, and also everything is just changing. What do you believe right now needs to happen in regards to masculinity, but also how the feminine is supporting the masculine to also rise?
Well, yeah, femininity is one thing, or the women is certainly one thing, but I believe that men need to be the leaders. And I created a post there some time ago, and it's absolutely blown up on my Instagram. Probably it is actually the most viewed reel I've ever posted. I think there's 500,000 views or something, but
wow.
I was, the message was, or the video was about, 3 ways that men, fuck up their relationships. And one of the key points there is the man's ability to embrace the vulnerabilities within himself, of course, first, but then to be able to embrace the vulnerabilities within the woman, within the feminine. Because I believe that it's the man's duty to provide that element of protection and love and support for the feminine. This is the masculine. The masculine is a man who steps up and embraces challenges, and the challenges are often in the relationship, whenever the woman is perhaps highlighting or identifying or expressing your flaws and where you're not stepping up, and your insecurities that are having an effect on the relationship. And when this happens to a lot of men in relationships, they run away like scared little boys. Oh, mommy's angry and I'm a bad boy, and I don't want to face this. I'm going to run away, hide in my room, hide on this porn site, hide in this affair, hide in this alcohol, hide on this TV, hide on these games. But that's really an opportunity for you to step up and see the truth in what she's expressing to you, because she's expressing this to you for the very reason that she wants you to take responsibility for that. So you can improve as a man, as a partner for her. And as you do that, the relationship begins to flourish all the more. Now, I made the mistake of running away. I made the mistake of hiding away. I made the mistake of believing that, angry woman equals a woman that doesn't love me. And I don't want to face that. I don't want to face the pain of not feeling the love of a woman, because, again, it goes back to childhood memories and childhood conditioning. When mommy was angry, you felt as though mommy didn't love you anymore, and you cannot survive with a mother that doesn't love you, or a mother who doesn't support you, a mother that doesn't protect you. So again, you suppress what you truly need to say or what you truly need to do in that experience, and you begin to behave in a way that you believe will keep her on your side. But this doesn't work. This is the birth of the nice guy. I'm sure you've heard a lot about that nice guy syndrome. And as I mentioned, if it's suppressed, it's going to be expressed in destructive ways through porn or through affairs. And obviously that breaks down the relationship. So you really need to have this element of trust within yourself, so you can trust the truth in what she's saying and not feel so defensive about it, but see it as an opportunity to step up and become a better man. And this is true in any situation. I think this is the very thing that men are avoiding at the moment. And as I mentioned, there's so many distractions and so many opportunities to avoid the difficulties in your life through, like, you've got this addictive piece of plastic in your phone every single day, and you can pick that up any time of the day and just zone out from what's happening in your environment, from what's happening in reality, and delve into fantasy, delve into, Instagram, and, watch all these women who are in bikinis. And, Instagram is a soft porn site. It's just the same as any other porn site out there. You're delving more into reality, or delving more into fantasy, and avoiding your reality. But as I mentioned, what you're avoiding in reality will eventually catch up with you, and it will fucking punish you for it. So this is happening a lot, and it's, unfortunately, I think it's on the rise with the rise of artificial intelligence and porn becoming something that is beginning to seem a lot more realistic. And we are heading into a dangerous, very, very dangerous territory here if we don't take precautions, because you can pretty much have an AI girlfriend now online at the moment, but she will be there in reality quite soon. Well, she won't be there in reality, but she'll be there, physically there, pretty soon. This is where it's going, in some sort of hologram or something else. But it's going that direction. And what's the consequence of that? Well, there's many, but loneliness is number one, because you're not connecting to reality. You're connecting to fantasy, something that's not real. Although it feels real, it's not. But over the course of time, the consequence of that is human extinction, because you can't have babies with a robot. You can't have babies with this AI girlfriend. So if you're not having physical sex with a woman in reality, then babies won't be born, and humanity won't continue to thrive or survive. So I'm always looking at the bigger picture of this, and right now we need to zone in on what's happening right now so we can avoid this catastrophe in the future. We're just going to kill ourselves off with pleasures and fantasy. And don't know if that answers your question, but as I said, men just need to embrace the challenges that are staring them in the face every single day, so they can become better men, to become better partners, and that as they begin to strengthen their physical and their emotional resilience, then we're gonna fucking thrive. We're gonna overcome whatever comes at us. So and there's a minority of people doing that, but I don't think it's enough at the moment. So we need to continue to spread this message to inspire men to step up and to keep us alive, because it's not this generation that'll suffer. maybe not even the next generation, but you are responsible. The men of today are responsible for all the generations that come ahead of us. So all this is going to have a knock-on effect. Whatever you do today, or whatever you're avoiding, or however you're living, is going to have a knock-on effect with the next generation and the next generation, and so on and so forth.
100%. And thank you for, our podcast is already coming to an end. So thank you so much for pointing this out. And in the end, it all comes back. I mean, it's your choice. It's your choice. Do you want to be happy? Do you want to actually feel fulfilled? Or do you want to face something that helps you to grow in a direction where you actually truly fully feel your heart, and you can make meaningful connection, you can make a meaningful impact into this world. And I do believe that we all have this warrior spirit and the warrior essence that is taking action, that is, going out and changing this broken system or whatsoever. Again, not pointing fingers, but again, saying something that, will change us. We do need to look into the past. So thank you so much for giving us a very, very, what's the best word to describe what I have right now, what I feel right now in my heart?
Detailed insights? No?
Detailed, but it's more than this. It's a very deeply in-depth, heartfelt, detailed experience in your past to really understand how tremendously important it is to look at the past in order to create and write a new story for our life, for our children, for everyone that we are impacting, because every single person in this world has the potential to change how old they are, wherever they're at in their journey. So is there anything that you want to share in today's podcast episode? Seriously, Gavin, I can go on and on and on to talk with you, because there's so many other
part two is coming soon.
Yeah, because generational everything. But for today, I really want to thank you. I really want to thank you for having this time with me and talking and having such a beautiful, impactful conversation with you, full of wisdom, because it's truly wisdom what you're sharing here. And is there anything what you would like to say for whoever listens to that, wherever they are currently on their path, and whatever medicine they might need?
You already have all the answers. I think that's probably the most important sentence I've said today. Your therapist or the books or the podcasts or even this conversation can bring something to your awareness. Mm. You may be feeling something after this conversation that has struck you in some way. And it struck you for a reason, because it's provoking something within yourself that you haven't yet addressed. But it's there. It's within. And as I mentioned, if you just stop and pay attention to it, you will find the answers as to what is required to help you get beyond that difficulty. So, as I mentioned, you need to, sometimes the best way to move forward is just to stop. So take that time for yourself, maybe even after this podcast, just to be with yourself and identify what comes up and grab that journal and write about it. And who knows, that could bring you towards a new path of healing and prosperity in your life. Thank you.
And for whoever wants to connect with you, it's gavinmeenan.com, right? Everywhere.
Gavin Meenan on everything. So if there's another Gavin Meenan out there, he's pretty pissed off, because I've put that handle on TikTok and Instagram, Twitter or X, whatever you call it, Facebook. So Gavin Meenan everywhere. If you type in my name on Google, it'll pop up there too. So yeah, thank you so much for holding this space for me to share this with you today, and thank you for the good work you do. It's incredibly important that women are also there to support men and masculinity as well. I think it's incredibly admirable what you're doing here. So continue good work, and as I said, thank you for your presence and your energy.